What's up guys, Jason over here at Cog Hill Farm. We're about to put together our portable coop, free range, forest raised meat chicken system today. What's up guys, Jason over here at Cog Hill Farm. We're about to put together our portable coop, free range, forest raised meat chicken system today. If you missed my last video, I was talking about how we're preparing to do this. I took the old coop down, fixed some waterers. Now I'm fixing to put this coop back up in a different position. If you missed that video, go check it out, links down below. But let's get started. Here are the tools that I use. A T-post driver. And you don't have to have one of these. You can use a sledgehammer, a regular hammer. But if you're gonna do this and you deal with T-post, you need to get one of these. A knife or a pair of scissors will work. This is a awesome knife that a fan of the show made me. Homemade. I love this knife. I'm gonna need this because I'm going to have it for baling twine, just simple baling twine. I use this to tie the tarp down and ear protection. That T-post driver is really loud, at least for my ears. So I got ear protections. This just so happens to be ear protection that plays music. That's just how I roll. So let's get started. This is going to be a 20-foot long, 10-foot wide. I'm using 16-foot cattle panels that are 4 foot tall. I'm going to use 5 of them. 5 times 4 is 20. That's where the 20 feet comes from. You could use a measuring tape. I forgot to say that earlier. I used to use a measuring tape, but my foot's roughly close to 12 inches, so it's easy for me to just use my foot instead of getting the measuring tape out. Each panel is going to overlap and it's going to share a pole. I'll show you that when I get in the video. Let's get started. Really the first thing is to just lay this thing on out and kind of get where I want to, put it, and go ahead and drive one post in. Now Mrs. Cog Hill normally helps me with this. It's just a timing thing. I knocked off work a few minutes early, hauled my tail home. I'm trying to beat the darkness and she's inside cooking dinner. Now I'm fixing to set the cattle panel in it. I'm going to bow it up. That's going to let me know where to put that other pole. And you don't want it right at the end of that pole. You want it 6 inches or so it'll have a good lip to catch this pole. And the same when you overlap it. Cattle panel number 2. They're going to share this pole. So I only got to set 2. And that's going to be like that all the way down. We're going to share a pole. Now it's just repeat 3 more times. It's trying to get dark on me. If I have to finish this thing up tomorrow, I'll just have to cut the camera off and finish it up tomorrow. It's just got way too dark. I do have a video of me putting the tarp on, an earlier video. I'll put that footage in here so you'll get an idea of what's going on. So it is the next day. Man, the temperature, it was been 80 and now it's 43. That's crazy. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back, I'm going to tie the corners of the cattle panels to the poles just for some security, and then I'm going to tie the tarp down in the corners and in the middle so that way any wind won't blow it over. You can see it had blew it over right here a little bit. I also like to tie the upper part of the front up and the back if I can, and again that's just for a little support. That really tighten it up a good bit. Don't need much. I've never had an issue with wind here. I could possibly see the wind being an issue if you were in a windy area. This was on a flat plain, no breaks like all these trees, so I could see wind getting up under it and flipping it over. So you'd have to do a lot more tying and supporting if you lived in an area like that. Now one thing I do is In the winter months, I put the brown side out to try to absorb heat. In the summertime, I put the silver side out to reflect heat. This thing is kind of like a greenhouse. It's gonna get pretty warm. It stays really, really warm in the winter. And another thing we'll do is we're gonna run some extension cords up here and put a couple of heat lights in there just in case. Right now, it's kind of cool. It's in the low 40s. That really shouldn't justify a heat light, but if it was a drop lower than that, the power will be here and then we can keep them warm. But that's only during the winter time. What I like to do in the summer months, see how this is open because I got the tarp pulled up because I'm fixing to put the back piece on. But in the summertime, I'll just leave that pulled up and it'll be a lot of airflow in here. And if it gets really warm, we can roll the sides up and it can be a lot of airflow through here. And this more or less acts like a shade than it does a greenhouse. Now what I did for the front and back pieces, the front, I actually cut a little bit, and I cut this cattle panel where it's big enough to fit across the front of the coop, and I just wrapped it totally in chicken wire because there's not going to be a tarp or anything over this. And basically I use the front like a sliding gate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set 2 more T-posts, and they're going to be kind of close to the whole coop area, and I'll wedge this piece in between it. We'll just slide it open and the chickens can come out, and then we'll just slide it closed and it shuts them up at night. And voila, there's the front gate. Now I do the same thing in the back, except I actually tie that back piece onto the coop because it's not going to open and shut. I'm actually not even going to set any poles down here in the back. I'm just going to put this back piece down here and just tie it to the coop. And there we go, the back is done. I had somebody ask me about heavy rain. How does heavy rain work? Fine. I mean, we've had bunches of big storms. We've been doing this for over a year now, and no issues whatsoever with this setup and weather. None. Now what we do next is go get our Premier One electric poultry netting, and I'm going to put around it, and that's going to protect them from any land predators day and night. And also keeps them in a confined area where they can't wander off too far from their home base, their coop. Because technically all this thing is for them to sleep at night and somewhere I can put their waterers, and if the weather's bad outside, somewhere I can put their feed. Otherwise, I feed them outside, they come outside, and during the day they pretty much stay outside. But at night, just like any other chicken, they're gonna go up and sleep in the coop. Just a quick tip about the Premier One fencing that we've learned over the years is as we put these temporary poles in between the permanent poles that come with it. Like right here, you can see that's a permanent pole, temporary pole, permanent pole, and we just do that to help with the sag that goes with it, especially because we're on this hill. But if you try to roll this Premier One fencing up with these temporary poles in here, it creates a total colossal mess. So always take those temporary poles out first, then roll your fencing up. The only other issue I've found with the Premier One fencing, especially for us since we're in this wooded area, there's sticks on the ground, there's pine cones, you know, it's going to get caught in this fencing. It just is. There's no ifs and buts about it. If you're on a, beautiful pasture land with no trees, it's probably a way easier for you to move. And we do use solar chargers. I got a link down below in the description of the solar chargers that we like to use. But since it's so cloudy, it's winter time, it's cloudy outside. I mean, the sun's not out right now. Then plus to add that we're in the woods a lot of times, so if there is sun out, it may be shade. We use the solar when we can. If not, we just use a outdoor electrical one. This is the Patriot P10. Another little tip that if you don't know or have never seen is the grounding rod. Your typical grounding rod, super long, you drive it in, but if you're running one of these portable systems or a tractor or anything portable, that setup is not going to work. Or if you do drive one in the ground, you can't get it out. That's why they made these T-style so you can grip it and you can pull it out. They're easy to pushing the ground. So this is the grounding rod that we use on our portable system. And what I like to do is just kind of get it halfway set up where I want it, and then I'll come back and straighten it all out and get it to match up and pull tight and that kind of thing. But right off the bat, just to get a general idea of where I want it to go, and then we'll come back and fix it. Next, what I like to do is I come back and I put those temporary poles that are extra in between the permanent poles. This just sturdies things up, takes that dip or that slack out, or how it sags in between the poles on some. Another thing, if you notice, I got most of the room in the front. You can see right here, this is where I generally like to do it if I can. This is not always the case, but if it is, this is what I like to do. Because most of the time I found with these Cornishes, they're gonna come out. They're not gonna go explore all back behind the coop. They're just gonna stay around here out in front. And this is why I love this system so much. They're not cooped up in anything, except only at night when they sleep. The rest of the time, they're out in 1,400 square foot of, which we have, forest land. And what I'm getting at is you don't have to have acres and acres of pasture land to run a free range chicken. Or if you wanted to do chicken tractors, you could do chicken tractors in the forest. It's just difficult, and that's the issue that we ran into. And for my waters, I just built a stand out of I just put the stand out of scrap wood. I generally run 2 or 3 and just use automatic waters. You've heard me talking about them before if you keep up with our channel. It's called the Coil Bell Style Waterer. I got a link below if you're interested in getting them. I got my buckets set up on my little platform here. And you can see I got them hanging inside the coop. We got 3, should be plenty of water. Only thing left now to do is clean these feeders out, get them set up. Feeders I use are these homemade feeders that I make out of plastic, cheap plastic gutters. I did a video on this. It's like one of my very first videos. It's not very good compared to my stuff now. I plan on redoing that video because there's some things that I would like to change up on these things. If you want to see how I make these, I got a link down below as to how I make these chicken feeders. But it's just a nice little trough style chicken feeder that is super cheap, super durable, and we've been using them for 4 years now. And I know some are wondering about, what about the floor of this thing? It's not being moved. Aren't they gonna get poop on it? Yes, they're gonna get poop on it. But the way I counter that is and it depends on what age they're at. The bigger they get, the more problem it is. But right now it's fresh leaf mulch, so there's no issues right now. But in probably, I'm guessing, a week, this ground will be compromised, and what we'll do is we bring in fresh hay. And again, depending on the age, we may have to put fresh hay down every 3 days, every 4 days, but as they get older, it turns into every other day or maybe every day, but that's how we do it. Everything's done, the waters are done, the feeders are ready. The only thing left to do is move the chicks. If you want to see how we do that, check out the next video. I want to show you a new little piece of equipment that we got that's making things easier around here, like moving chickens. Hey guys, if you missed how we took this thing apart, check that video out right over here. If you're new to the channel and like what you see, hit the subscribe button right down below. And if you're interested in any Cog Hill Farm gear, like this Cog Hill Farm shirt, check out this link right here. Y'all be good.